My son thought he had taken everything from me. He didn't know I was about to take my life back. Before I begin, I want to say this. If you're listening right now, thank you for being here with me. Please stay until the end and let me know in the comments which city you're listening from. It still amazes me how far one story can travel when it's finally told. I laughed when my son called me. Not because what he said was funny, it wasn't, but because in that moment I realized something he never expected. He thought he had won. "Mom," he said casually, almost cheerfully, "I'm getting married tomorrow. I withdrew the money from your bank accounts and sold the house. You'll be fine." Bye. Then the line went dead. I sat alone at my kitchen table, phone still pressed to my ear, and laughed until my chest hurt. Because the house he sold wasn't the house I lived in. And that was only the beginning of the mistake that would cost him everything. The life I built quietly. My name is Margaret Thornton. I was 62 years old when my life cracked open. For nearly 4 decades, I had lived carefully, quietly, intentionally. I worked part-time at a local library in suburban Ohio. I lived in a simple home, 2 bedrooms, small garden, no extravagance. I learned early that security didn't come from luck. It came from discipline. My husband died when our son Derek was 12. After that, there was no safety net, just me. I worked 2 jobs. I skipped vacations. I wore coats until the seams frayed. Every dollar I saved was saved with a purpose. Never to be dependent on anyone, especially not my child. The first crack in trust. 3 months before everything collapsed, Derek called me with a tone I didn't recognize. Soft, concerned, almost rehearsed. "Mom," he said, "I want to help you set up automatic payments. You shouldn't have to worry about bills at your age." At your age. The words stung, but I brushed it aside. He was my only child. I had raised him alone. Surely I could trust him. So I gave him limited access. That was my first mistake. When greed starts talking. 6 weeks later, Derek came over with his fiancée. Her name was Brittany. She was 26, beautiful in a way that felt sharp, not warm. She didn't look at me when she hugged me. She looked at my furniture, my walls, my space. "This area must be worth a lot now," she said casually, running her fingers along my mantle. "It's my home," I replied. Derek laughed nervously. "She's just curious, Mom." But his eyes told a different story. The morning everything disappeared. I checked my bank accounts every Sunday morning with my coffee. That morning, my screen showed numbers that didn't make sense. My savings, $127,000. Reduced to $1,200. My checking account, $53. I called the bank. The representative was kind, professional, calm. "Mrs. Thornton, these transfers were made through your online portal. They went to an account in the name of Derek Thornton." I hung up without speaking. I sat at my kitchen table for 3 hours and didn't cry. Shock has a way of freezing you solid. The call that changed everything. The next morning, Derek called. His voice was bright, excited. "Great news, Mom." Brittany and I are getting married tomorrow. We didn't want to wait. I swallowed hard. Derek, my money.
Oh, that?
He laughed.
Yeah, I took it. We needed it for the wedding and a condo.
You've got Social Security. You'll be fine. Then he added the final blow.
I sold the house, too.
Closing was yesterday. You've got 30 days to move out. That was when the world tilted. And then, slowly, I laughed. The truth he didn't know. The house Derek sold wasn't my home. It was a rental property I had purchased years earlier, legally occupied by tenants with a signed lease. My actual home, the one I was sitting in, was owned by a family trust established by my late mother-in-law. Derek didn't know that. He thought I was just a careful old woman with one modest asset. He thought wrong. When the pieces fell into place, I didn't confront him right away. I opened my filing cabinet. Every document was there. Deeds, leases, trust, paperwork. Years of careful record-keeping he never imagined I'd need. Then I called the bank, then the police, then a lawyer. Each call made the truth clearer. Derek hadn't borrowed money. He had forged documents. He had exploited my illness. He had sold property he didn't legally control. This wasn't family drama. This was a crime. Watching him celebrate with stolen money. Derek invited me to the wedding. I went. I wore navy blue, smiled politely, sat in the front row. Brittany's dress glittered under chandeliers, paid for with my savings. As they cut the cake, my phone buzzed. Fraud investigation opened. I watched my son laugh, unaware that his life had already begun to unravel. When the masks came off, 3 days later, they showed up at my door. Angry, threatening, desperate. "Drop the charges," Derek demanded. "We'll say you're confused," Brittany added coldly. "We'll put you in a home if we have to." That was the moment I stopped seeing my son and saw a stranger instead. I told them to leave. Then I told my lawyer to proceed fully. Court is where truth doesn't flinch. Derek thought a jury would side with him. He thought being a son was a shield. But evidence doesn't care about blood. The forged notarization, the bank records, the tenant testimony. Piece by piece, his story collapsed. When the verdict came back, guilty on all counts, I didn't cry. I exhaled. Aftermath isn't peace, but it's honest. Derek was sentenced to 7 years. Brittany divorced him within a year. Restitution payments came slowly, but they came. And something unexpected happened. I found myself again. I started helping others protect themselves from financial abuse. I traveled. I laughed. I lived without fear. I lost a son, but I saved myself. The truth I learned too late. Love without boundaries is not love. Family without respect is not family. And choosing justice over guilt is sometimes the only way to survive. If you're listening to this and something feels familiar, trust that feeling. Protect yourself, even when the person you're protecting yourself from shares your blood. Thank you for listening. Tell me where you're listening from, and remember, you are allowed to choose yourself.